Everything, all motion is expressed in waves. All waves are expressed in curves. It always makes spiral.
So because of the concept of gravity, this infinite point that light can't even escape,
they have a thing called zero. They go from 1 to 0 to -1. There is no zero to even think zero.
So do you think that zero is a concept that came along with currency?
Because in physics, nothing remains still. There's nothing still in the universe. There's nothing that doesn't have motion, because everything is connected. So if one thing is still, everything that's connected to it has to be still. There can never be one thing still. So as electricity tries to get to its balanced state, right when it gets there, magnetism takes over and it pushes over. So there's this pendulum. And as soon as it gets to this state, it bounces off that other noble gas and it makes its way all the way back over here, and it's about to have equanimity. And then it gets pulled back into the other direction. And that's the breathing in and breathing out and the pendulum effect that we've all observed in natural phenomena.
And that's a part of everything.
Everything behaves that way. Every one of our cells comes down to, our cells are made up of water, mostly water, 80%, 90% water.
In your model, what happens to these suns when they supernova?
Everything gets old and die.
And does everything recompress?
Has to. And you breathe out, what happens to that air? Another plant breathes that air in.
So would this be the universe itself? Would it be galaxies? Would it be...
Behaves the same way.
So as the sun expands and projects and ejects particles, they expand, they go further and further from the sun, and at a certain point, they come back.
Well, at a certain point, what do they hit? There's other expanding stars from the other star systems. They have expanding solar winds. So when they meet our star, meets the solar wind from another star at that end of that spot, now there's two pressure conditions. So you have another Lagrange spot. That's when those waves start coming back, but they get hit. And if they hit at 120 degrees, because that's how the universe is arranged, now these things become electric. So they, instead of coming from the planar side and expanding out at the equator, they now come back up from the northern and southern parts.
Does this account for stellar nurseries?
Yes. All of these things are just pressure conditions hitting each other. But everything in the universe is just electricity. And we call it magnetism when it's devitalized, but it's still electricity. The radiative side, it's the feminine side. And the contractive side is the positive, masculine side. It's a balance. It's never been anything but. And I have the proof of it. You have all these physicists that's saying something different, but none of them have 97 patents. None of them have introduced a new form of flight with unlimited mid-air bonding. None of them have discovered 4 supersymmetrical systems. This is what we've done. This is what the collective is able to do when you put yourself into the divine space.
If I had a magic wand, allowed all of these people that have these opposing ideas, you emerge victorious with this magic wand, and now people go, just listen to Terrence. What do we do?
New axioms and new postulates based off the real wave conjugations. Now we adjust our understanding of our physics to fit natural phenomena. And then we are in balance with it, and we have to let go of the idea of this currency. We're the only creatures in the known universe that uses currency, that uses an indirect form of payment instead of a direct exchange.
The thing about currency is it's connected to technological innovation because of this unlimited potential for growth. And when you have an unlimited potential for growth, you have people that are extremely motivated to make massive amounts of money, and they innovate in a very high way. And then they also implement that innovation in the form of technology.
But their technology is antiquated compared to mine. There's no government on this planet that has the technology that I have or can outdo what I have, because you can't outdo the fractal. pull out your calculator. And I want you to enter the square root of 2 in there, and let's walk through this loop where the square root of 2 cubed is the same value as the square root of 2 times 2. That's a loop. That's x cubed being equal to 2x, which is equal to x plus x. That's an unnatural equation. And every quantum mechanics and quantum physics equation has that square root of 2 in there. Because they believe Newton's first law that everything moves in a straight line, or everything is still until acted upon. They forget that everything is in motion, and that concert of motion is a necessity. They have to include all the other forces involved in order to have equanimity in their equation. Look at a computer chip. It has all of these 90-degree turns on it, typically where they run the electricity. Can you imagine running at 186,624 miles a second in one direction, and you hit a wall, and you've got to stop, bounce off of that wall, and then you pick up your speed and you bounce off the next wall, and you bounce off the next and next and the next and the next. How much heat are you building up? How much friction is being built up from the interference in comparison to if it was just spherical? You're able to utilize all that energy, so you don't need the cooling systems. You don't need all of this loss or entropy. None of that occurs when you go by universal standards.
If you're using math on a calculator, what is wrong with what the calculator is saying?
The calculator right now is still saying that we're on a linear path. And it's just multiplying things in a compartmentalized space.
Is it because that we can create straight lines and we get confused?
We can't create it, because even when you look at it under an electron microscope, you'll see all the little curved dots that make it up. There are no straight lines. Again, we are being fooled by our senses because there is no motion in a straight line. So all these homes that they're building, and they keep wondering, why do they keep blowing over? Why don't you make the homes look like a mushroom? Follow the curvature of nature, and you won't have to worry about rebuilding them in hurricane zones or in tornado zones. He'll go right over it. They don't make airplanes that's just a straight box. They've allowed it to be aerodynamic and curved. Like I said, no man would be attracted to a Euclidean woman, something just straight like this. We need the curvature, like Alan Watts said. We need the wiggles. We like the wiggles attached to it.